Happy Monday, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Well, this week we're going to be continuing in Matthew, and we're going to be reading Matthews 8 through 12 this week. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the word pericope. Pericope. This is a theological term used about how the writers of the Gospels make different stories, and today is a perfect example of that. Hi, I'm Pastor Mark with Heights Christian Church. What we're doing is going through the Bible in 5 years, and in that time we're going to break it up into small pieces, and every day we will read about a chapter a day, and then after we read that together as a congregation, as a group of believers, then we take a little piece of that and we look to see what God is doing in our lives or through this passage to help us to be more like Jesus. So I invite you to come along with us and be a part of it. And subscribe to our channel. We would love that. We would love for you to be a part of it and do this with us. So we do that 6 days a week. And then on the 7th, which is Sunday, we will invite you to be a part of our online presence in our sermons. So anyway, today we're reading Matthew 8. So why don't you read along with me and let's get through a chapter today. This is Matthew 8. When Jesus came down from the mountainside, large crowds followed him. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said, "be clean." Immediately, he was cleansed of his leprosy. Then Jesus said to him, "See that you don't tell anyone, but go, show yourself to the priests, offer the gift Moses commanded as a testimony to them." When Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him asking for help. "Lord," he said, "my servant lies at home, paralyzed, suffering terribly." Jesus said to him, "Shall I come and heal him?" The centurion replied, "Look, Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof, but just say the word and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. I tell this one, go, and he goes, and that one, come, and he comes. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed and said to those following him, "Truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. I say to you that many will come from the east and the west and will take their places at the feast with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the subjects of the kingdom will be thrown outside into the darkness where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Then Jesus said to the centurion, "Go, let it be done, just as you believed it would." And his servant was healed at that moment. Verse 14, when Jesus came into Peter's house, he saw Peter's mother-in-law lying in bed with a fever. He touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she got up and began to wait on him. When evening came, many who were demon-possessed were brought to him, and he drove out the spirits with a word and healed all the sick. This was to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet Isaiah. He took up our infirmities and bore our diseases. When Jesus saw the crowd around him, he gave orders to cross to the other side of the lake. Then a teacher of the law came to him and said, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." And Jesus replied, "Foxes have dens, birds have nests, but the Son of Man had no place to lay his head." Another disciple said to him, "Lord, first let me go and bury my father." But Jesus told him, "Follow me and let the dead bury their own dead." Then he got into the boat and his disciples followed him. Suddenly a furious storm came up on the lake so that the water swept over the boat. But Jesus went sleeping. The disciples went and woke him, saying, "Lord, save us, we're going to drown." He replied, "You have little faith. Why are you so afraid?" And then he got up and rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, "What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him." When he arrived at the other side in the region of Gadarenes, two demon-possessed men coming from the tombs met him. They were so violent that no one could pass that way. "What do you want with us, Son of God?" they shouted. "Have you come here to torture us before the appointed time?" Some distance from them, a large herd of pigs was feeding. The demons begged Jesus, "If you drive us out, send us into the herd of pigs." He said to them, "Go." So they came out and went to the pigs, and the whole herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and died in the water. Those tending the pigs ran off, went to town, and reported all this, including what had happened to the demon-possessed men. Then the whole town went out to meet Jesus, and when they saw him, they pleaded with him to leave their region. Okay, that's chapter 8. One of the things we notice about this chapter is it's made up of different stories. Now, Matthew doesn't pretend to do all of this in a chronological order. He's just giving stories about the way Jesus is performing miracles. Okay, all of them are different. All of them have a certain degree about it. And one thing I can tell you that I've learned from Matthew's chapters 8 and chapters 9 is we cannot put God in a box. He doesn't operate the same way every time. He is creative, he is intentional, and he does it in so many different ways. So let's look at just some of these miracles that we read. So first, a man with leprosy, he heals him. And he asked the man not to tell anything of people, but to go and present himself as someone who's been cleansed of leprosy according to the law. I think that's really cool. A couple things. He touches the man. He touched a man with leprosy. People with leprosy were supposed to be unclean. You're not supposed to touch them because it makes you unclean. And then you couldn't go to the temple for over a day. So, most people didn't touch him. You would never see a religious leader touching a man of leprosy. You would never see a priest touch a man of leprosy. But Jesus, the creator of the universe, said he just touched him. And he healed him. So he healed him by touch. Well, does he always heal by touch? We can't put God in a box, remember? Okay, so then we have the faith of the centurion. The centurion comes and says, "Hey, you don't have to come to my house, but to heal my servant." And Jesus does it. He's far away, yet the servant is still healed. Doesn't touch him, doesn't even talk to this servant, but the servant is healed. So now he heals over distance. And that's the next thing. Then we have Jesus healing many. It's not just one he heals a bunch all at the same time. So it's not just, we can't put God in a box. So he does so many different things. Then he heals Peter's mother-in-law. It's a personal healing. This is someone he knows, someone who's in close relationship to Peter. And so that is done. And then you have Jesus talking about the cost of following him. And various people are talking to him, and he gives answers. And he calls himself the Son of Man. That's a very Christological designation. And this is something that is identifying, because Matthew, the whole book, is trying to show Jews that Jesus is in fact the Messiah. And then not only does Jesus heal people, he also is able to talk to storms and they obey him. Okay, so now again, we just can't put God or Jesus in a box because he does all kinds of things. And this is just done by voice. He calms the storm with his voice. And then he goes to the demon-possessed men. Now he's actually going against Satan and his demons. And he heals the two men. And he casts them by authority, the demons, into the pigs. And they go and drown. And then they ask him to leave. So it wasn't exactly a hospitable group. They lost all their pigs. They're mad at him, ask him to leave. Or they think, oh my gosh, this is a godly man. We're scared that he's going to hurt us. So all these pericopes are put together to show that Jesus does amazing miracles in all kinds of different ways. And so if there's anything we can learn from this today is that we cannot put God in a box. Well, in healing, you have to touch or you have to say a certain prayer. No, 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 no. This is a relationship with the God of the universe, and He can do things so many different ways. And so don't feel like you have to put God in a box and He can only do certain things in certain ways, because our God is greater than that. And that's my encouragement for you today. I hope you have a great one, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.